digital transformation of HR. So today on this panel we have who's on board? Ms. Tamkeen, Mr. Syed Farhan, Mr. Ahmed Hancer, and Mr. Hassan, and Mr. Ghulam, of course, on board to actually discuss this point. Let's aim to have a half an hour discussion. And if we have any questions that comes from anywhere, we will just feed you with them. Okay, the floor to you guys, and good luck.
Thank you. This is Ateeq. I'm Director of IT with PITC, and I welcome you all on this panel. And we have a very interesting, very diversified panel, not only with regards to their backgrounds, but also with reference to gender for that matter. So I hope Fatima is also around, and we have got everyone around. So may I request all of you to introduce yourself individually for a couple of with a couple of lines so that we can get going.
Sure, I'll go first if that's okay. So my name is Hassan Azhar, and I am with HRSG. HRSG is a HR solutions firm based in Pakistan. We have a fairly substantial footprint in Pakistan, offices in Karachi, Lahore, and Islamabad. A couple of offices outside of Pakistan as well. We have three verticals, our largest being our outsourcing and specialized solutions arm. Then we have an HR BPO arm, and the third is people and business advisory, where we offer executive search and HR consultancy services. I joined the firm about three and a half years ago. My role at the firm is focused on corporate strategy and general management and new product development. In my prior life, I worked mostly for a number of investment banks in the U.S. on Wall Street, specifically focused on private equity and the real estate and infrastructure space.
That's great. So may I request the next panelist to be please introducing yourself? If we have anyone else around.
Yeah, hi everyone. This is Ahmed. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Ahmed, welcome to the show, and I would like you to introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be part of this esteemed panel. Hi everyone from Istanbul, from Turkey. We are an e-learning company helping companies, government institutions, Department of Defense, military, universities, higher education to digitalize learning, especially nowadays after the COVID period in Turkey. It's a very, very hot topic, not only digitalization of learning, but in the company, digitalization of HR. So I'm looking forward to sharing our experience and learning yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ahmed. Is there anyone technical person around? I've just seen a message that someone is saying that there is no sound. Ahmed, probably your mic is off. So if you can please turn your mic on. Yeah. Now introduce yourself again, please. Thank you.
Let me try again. I was using okay, sorry for that. My name is Ahmed. Hi everyone from Istanbul, Turkey. We are an e-learning company. For the last 20 years, we are working with the government institutions, universities, company to digitalize learning, especially in COVID days in Turkey also. Learning and development is changing. The digital transformation is very, very fast. So I'm looking forward to sharing our experience in Turkey and listening to yours. So thank you very much again for
thank you. Thank you. Anyone who's there else?
Okay, this is Syed Farhan Mahmood. I'm an HR professional. My earlier 15 years had been launch of almost all the telecom companies in Pakistan. Till 2006, I moved to UAE, and I worked for 10 years for two of the richest groups in UAE. till 2016 end, when I relocated back to Pakistan. And from that, I'm doing consulting, human resource consulting, and focused towards digital learning kind of initiative. In the last few years, I've done massive digital learning initiative into major companies of automotive sector, telecom sector, and that's where we are heading. And I think with COVID, the work has multiplied many folds. Let's see how we adopt digital at a workplace. That's the future.
Thank you. Next panelist, please.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Tamkeen here. I head the HR function for JS Bank at the moment. I've been with organizations like KE in the energy sector, FMCG with Reckitt Benckiser, and a good, 8 to 10 years of experience of being a consultant with HRSD, where I was majorly responsible for digital transformation for a large group of local and multinational organizations. Like I said, digital being one forte, organization culture and talent management being the other. I must say that we just spoke about, I just mentioned, and Farhan mentioned the COVID situation. This is also digital transformation. We all being used to going to those conferences and sitting there at the stage in the panel and endorsing that, this can still continue. I mean, Ghulam did it very well. Thank you so much. Happy to be part of this.
Thank you. Next panelist, please. Tamkeen, I doubt your mic was off, or you turned it off right now.
I just did that after I finished.
Okay. So I hope the rest of the people will join again. So let me just throw you the first question. And I'd like to start. Okay, Fatima is here. Please introduce yourself.
Hanji, Assalamualaikum. This is Fatima Asad Syed. I'm with Abacus Consulting. I'm one of their managing directors and also sit on the board. Over the last 23 years that I've been working, my focus has been human capital solutions and corporate governance. And the idea is to ensure that we work with clients and we work with our people to transform the value that they add, not only to themselves, but also, all the industries and the sectors that they work in. So as our outreach grows across an international geographic footprint, it is essential that we keep in view that especially in this COVID situation, that the well-being of our people is the top priority. And whatever strategies are put into place in terms of business continuity are very well aligned to safeguarding the health and wellness of our people. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have another panelist over here? Shoaib Saab from CCL Pharma or anyone else around? Okay. So let me just throw the first question to
Ateeq sir, I'm not sure if Mr. Ahmed has introduced himself. Ahmed joined us from Turkey.
Ahmed has done it. First time it mic was off, and the second time he was around.
Ahmed, we can't see you. Can you please switch on your cam? I request all the panel members to please stay on camera, so because you are live, so your video will look nice. Only me and Zina during this time of your panel discussion, we will be at the backstage. Thank you.
Correct. So let me just throw the first question. The question is that now we know the digital transformation is like a very big terminology. It encompasses all the areas of the organization. But once we talk about the HR particularly, so how can HR people help the organization to do this digital transformation of the HR perspective? So anyone who could start for that matter, please.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead, Tamkeen.
Please go on. Okay.
Yeah.
From an organizational perspective, I mean, like I said, being on both ends, the consultancy side and then the organization side, I feel that, the way HR can really support the digitalization is in terms of the establishing the purpose of what we need to digitalize, why we need to do it, because you need to know what you're solving for really. When you've done that, it is important that what tool you're selecting. The selection of the tool, because if your tool selection is in absolute contrast to where your organization is or what your purpose is, it's going to be a failure. You can, I mean, I've been part of organizations, you can procure the best of global systems, but after doing everything, after doing the implementation, when you take it to the employees and they're not ready to use it, if they don't find the purpose in it, it is going to fail, right? Because in a lot of cases, we first roll out the tools and then we go and try and tell the organization that, come on, start using it. So that, and also it is important that the way you can support is that you can assess the organization readiness and help the organization build towards it by taking everybody on board. Usually, I mean, I can speak from the organization side, being, again, in the HR piece. Usually we feel it is our own decision being the HR people, right? Yes, we are the experts, but we are rolling that technology out for our people and for the business. So they have to be on board with everything. If you take care of those measures, I mean, to a great extent, when you go for a digital transformation, you will ensure that your organization is ready for it, and then it is a success.
All right. Ahmed, I'm throwing a question to you. What is the employee readiness in terms of digital transformation right now, particularly in your part of the world?
Oh, wonderful question. Thank you very much. In fact, one of the very critical role of the HR for the digital transformation of the company is to increase the awareness of the digital transformation. The digital literacy. What is the digital transformation? What are the key elements of digital transformation? How to change the business model, how to change the process, how to automate let's say, the regular tasks. Not the regular tasks done by hands, but the regular tasks done by the brain as well, by the, let's say, human brain as well. So according to the research in Turkey, people are aware that the digital transformation, the awareness, knowing the digital transformations affecting the business life and in their career is very critical. But unfortunately, according to the same research, not more than 30 to 40% of the companies are doing enough to increase the awareness about digital transformation and initiate the digital transformation. But to tell you the truth, these were the numbers before the COVID. Within the COVID, the digital transformation become the new normal, and in a weekend, in 2 weeks time, many things is kind of digital transformation. That's why the learning and development function, which is generally under the control of the HR, have this critical role to increase the awareness, to make people competent about the digital key concepts, and help people think about the business model, what they are doing, without being afraid of losing their job. So it's another point. So you have to be sure that, well, if the regular things are done by the robots, it doesn't mean that you're gonna lose your job, but you have to increase your potential, increase your competency. The competency is the real, let's say, money working in the company. So you'll be ready for the next role, which is above the role which the machines can do. So it's a kind of very critical position, very critical role HR and L&D is having. One more last thing. In Turkey, we're all discussing in HR world, in the companies, in the business life, that the leadership is very critical. The leadership is very critical in terms of digital transformation, yes, but also the leadership is very critical for making mistakes, so letting people try and fail, because it is how the digital transformation is working. And I think this COVID period kind of increased the awareness of this digital transformation and how important the human side of the employee or the leaders in the companies are.
Thank you, Ahmed. Fatima, I'm posting a question towards you. I'm throwing this question to you. Ahmed has just talked about the business process change while you are looking at the transformation. You being into the consulting for so many years and you come across so many organizations, different organizations. How easy or how challenging is this to bring in this process change as far as the top management is concerned to move towards the digital transformation? Fatima, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's a very important question because any change management exercise has to have the support and the ownership and the commitment on a long-term basis from the top, whether it is at the board level or whether it is at the executive, actually at both levels. If it is not firmly part of their business strategy, then that is just a failure waiting to happen. So it's absolutely critical that any change management, any transformation that is an intrinsic, integral part of the journey that organization is wanting to take, they don't have that support, it's a no-go. Secondly, I feel that especially in the day and age that we are living in, not only from the crisis that is facing all organizations and all countries in the world, that is very unusual, of course, and there's the conversation around the new normal and what does that mean for everyone. But even before that, the digital transformation meant that we had to transform because business processes were transforming. So you cannot have a manufacturing sector with cutting edge technology and not equip the people with the capability, the skills and the knowledge, as my colleague Ahmed has also pointed out. It has to go in tandem. So firmly, it has to have visibility. It has to have a certain conscious decision in integrating it. And I believe that even the Chief Transformation Officer and the CHRO have to sit as partners at the boardroom or at the strategy table to devise those plans. That's extremely critical. And secondly, I just want to sort of integrate it into the conversation I'm sure most of your organizations are already having from a business continuity. With the advent of technology and the disruption that has already taken place, the COVID situation, I'm not saying post-COVID because I feel there's still a lot of uncertainty at this point in time. It may take 12 to 24 months till we transit into a new normal. The way people are working, for example, our own organization has maintained a work from home strategy. We have essential services going in and 50% staff at the offices as and when required. So you have this, it's not something which is preferred to have. It's very much part of the strategy that you have from a work from home, remote working, not even, I won't even term it work from home, the remote working concept. Now, when you introduce remote working, it automatically goes into goal setting and task monitoring. It's no longer about 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 per se. It is much more broader than that. So this is another, I feel, challenge that has been posted or presented to business leaders all over the world across industries, that in this situation, one, you have the digital transformation mandate in order to stay relevant and sustainable. And on the other hand, you have this pandemic, which is forcing organizations to rethink how they strategize for their people.
Thank you. Farhan, I'm posing a question for you now. What are the opportunities that people can come across because of this digital transformation? So Farhan, if you can answer this, please.
I would answer this in two perspectives. One is the organizations in Pakistan, which may have a very nice IT infrastructure. The first level would be that they need to have a digital adaptation assessment to gather what they have and what is their usability, which is a big gap in those level of organizations. So the employees would be trained according to them. The second level is the organization which was not digitally savvy till now, right? And then they need to go back from point zero for business process remapping to a technological adaptation, and then having the people to be trained, right? So I think there are two major areas. The bigger major area is in our country, there are a lot of organization which has lot of great technological tools available, but the human factor adaptation is pretty weak. And human resource departments have no assessment to have this gap between the technological adaptation. They do performance assessments. They only do individual assessments. They do employee engagement assessments. So I think it is time to understand that we need to do digital adaptation assessment. And I think in this COVID time, let's be honest, there are a lot of technological companies in Pakistan right now. When it comes to work from home, they were questioning, right? Why so? You were already a technology company. What did not happen in your organization to work from home? Technology always taught us that we are digitally savvy. So I think that's how we need to bridge the gap.
Thank you. Hassan, coming to you. We all know that there is a very important aspect of the HR, which is HR analytics. And linking it with the current situation, how the HR analytics can actually help improve organizational performance overall. And particularly in this pandemic situation, which Fatima earlier mentioned, or Farhan also mentioned, it's no more 9 to 5. It's more about getting the achievements. So how HR analytics can actually help this out to improve the organizational performance?
Certainly, thank you. I think there's a number of different factors that once you have a credible once you have credible data and you have effective analytics, you're able to then make educated decisions based on that analysis or those analytics. For instance, if you look at things like turnover or retention, companies can then develop a plan to mitigate, let's say, high turnover, for instance. If they have the correct data analytics, they can then start to target specific areas of concern that cause high turnover and thereby improving their retention rate. Similarly, when it comes to talent or managing risk, companies that employ data analytics can identify which new hires are high performers, and it can then focus on maybe devising a fast track program for those people. In terms of managing risk or mitigating risk, companies can analyze data and develop profiles which let's say candidates who are at risk of leaving prematurely, you can kind of develop a plan to mitigate that that issue. So analytics is something that I think is not yet as pervasive as we'd like it to be, but I think as it becomes more and more popular and sophisticated, it is something that I think can be used to the advantage of the organization.
Thank you. Now the next question is particularly to Fatima again. Well, you coming in from the multiple backgrounds, knowing different organizations and all that. There was during the talk, there was discussion about that the top leadership is very important once you think of bringing in digital transformation. My question will have two parts. The one needs to be answered by Fatima, and then I'll move to Ahmed. In our part of the world, how easy it is to convince the top management, the top leadership of the organization to move towards the digital transformation. Fatima, over to you.
You're right. There are challenges in terms of the thought process and the vision that exists in certain sectors or certain organizations. I won't say in certain sectors, because there are leaders in every particular sector who are conscious of the fact that if they are to maintain, as I mentioned, relevance and sustainability for their organization, they will have to engage with technology platforms, with a technology strategy in order to survive. As far as the challenge of it depends on which segment you're working with. And I feel by and large, even in our small and medium sized enterprises, there is a consciousness and there is a awareness that they need to have some form of technology which is driving their business. One of our businesses focuses primarily on the mid and medium-sized, small and medium-sized enterprises as well. And it's very heartening to note that these organizations may be very small or very local in their outreach, but they have taken the decision to invest in technology, at least on the business process side. The real issue is how much of an investment they're making as far as people is concerned. And I feel as HR professionals, Tamkeen also mentioned that it's connecting with the person, making sure that they are being not only utilized according to the strengths and the capabilities that they bring to the table, but also being very conscious of what is next and how their learning and their career path is developed is the responsibility of the organization. That is where we really struggle with. And we feel that we live in an age where we can actually leverage on opportunities because we are connected from a technology perspective, and access to information and access to what other organizations are doing is readily available. Then there is the brand equity, which is a powerful way of ensuring that you're attracting the right people. So good leaders and good business people as well, even if they may be from the small and medium size, or if I can use that word, that business owner kind of mentality, which can go either way as well. जो सेठ mentality हमारे मुल्क में कही जाती है, I feel that is also changing. Yes, it will take time, and there has to be much more awareness about and realization that you have to take care of your people as a strategy component, not as something which you have to pay and hire and fire at the end of the day. So it is a challenge, but I'm a firm believer that if you work with market leaders, both at a national and an international level, automatically that cascades down and they see the writing on the wall. It is very obvious. So that's how I would respond to that.
Thank you. Ahmed, a similar kind of a question for you as well. What is the leadership role in your part of the world to adopt to this digital transformation, particularly in the HR sector?
Thank you very much, Ahmet Ateeq. In fact, nowadays, even the government is kind of taking the leadership of the digital transformation, both in the government sector, in higher education, in university, in companies. There are lots of initiatives about the digital transformation of the companies. It's not only the financial initiatives, but also if culture-wise, you can initiate your company to be more, let's say, digitally transformed. There are lots of education incentives, training incentives. So there are some monetary and non-monetary incentives as well. But nowadays, in the HR world, in the companies, one of the very critical topic that we're discussing about this digital transformation, change management is I will mention again, the corporate culture, to be very flexible about the failure. So if you do make a mistake, is your manager, is your company will fire you? Are you going to be accused of this? Or are you going to be very kind of free to make any mistake? So that is one of the very critical leadership that within the companies we are discussing. Okay, we have to maintain the culture to be kind of ready for any kind of mistake. For example, if you're talking about blockchain, if you're talking about the robotic process automation, there will be lots of failures in finding the best solution. So the failure itself is one of the most important, or tolerance to the failure is one of the most important part of the digital transformations, let's say change management perspective. Secondly, for this change management, you need to kind of create champions. So in fact, instead of kind of accusing some of the department, let's say, not being very digitally transformed, companies are kind of fostering the champions who are more successful. So the more successful cases are definitely more motivating the company. It's a kind of a very good gamification to see the best examples, and then you do the kind of similar thing in the transformation. But it's all, although it's all digital transformation, it's all human and human capital. I think at least leadership is now more aware of this. So it is the human thing. It's the human thing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ahmed. Hassan, coming to you, I totally agree with Ahmed's comment that we always need mission champions to adopt these kind of situations. So, Hassan, my question is to you that how we can create these kind of champions, the mission champions to adopt these digital transformation processes.
I'm sorry, I didn't get the question. Can you repeat the question?
Well, Ahmed was commenting that we always need some kind of champion to come up with the challenge of digital transformation, which is generally considered to be the top management, the top leadership. So how we can actually create these champions, since you belong to an industry where you create these leadership roles as well. So how we can create these mission champions who can actually adopt this digital transformation change?
Look, so I don't know if I can, I'm not sure exactly how we can create mission champions per se, but I believe most successful organizations already see technology as a strong enabler of progress, of transformation. I think during this pandemic, many organizations, or most organizations, have actually been forced to transform almost overnight. They didn't have a choice, right? We all had video conferencing capabilities, but we used it very, very infrequently. At least the vast majority of people that I've spoken to have not been, pre-coronavirus, have not been big users of these tools. But now overnight, we've had to evolve, had to adapt. We didn't have a choice. And what we've realized as a result of that is that we can actually do this on a long-term basis. And what we're seeing now is that organizations are now becoming more and more receptive to technological solutions, to digitization overall, because they're seeing their own models evolve very, very rapidly. So, if I were to give you an example, some organizations that we've been talking to over the last couple of months, they didn't have digitization of their HR systems, for instance, anywhere on the radar for at least for the next few years. And now they're very highly motivated to make a switch because they've kind of been forced to, and they're realizing that it makes things very, very efficient. When people can do a lot of the work from home or from a remote location that they can get done in the office, then companies are seeing that they may not need as much office space, or that they can give their people far greater flexibility to work from a remote location and improve their work-life balance or their personal lives as a consequence of that. And as long as there's there's good accountability and objectives are well articulated. Many organizations are realizing that they can actually, this can become part of the new normal. And so creating that change, I think sometimes organizations are inspired by other good organizations that have adopted technology and made made it a big part of their business model. And I think in the current times that we live in, many organizations have actually been forced to do that. I think if you effectively implement good technology within your organization, that then becomes kind of contagious, and one good thing ends up leading to another. So if you have, for instance, we employed Office 365, which had Microsoft Teams, and we were using it even before this pandemic. And now it's the default way to get together for a lot of our people. And I see a lot of other organizations doing the same thing. They're, organizations that we speak to are telling us very similar stories to ourselves. They're not looking at drastically expanding their office space, even if they're expecting growth. They're looking to have more remote workers in the mix than, far more than in the past. So
thank you.
I don't know if that answers your question.
Time we have, can I just ask GM or anyone else how much time we have?
That's why I came. I can give you 5 more minutes. I have only one question on the chat. Maybe we can cover that also at the same time, that there's no mention of the manufacturing sector. So what's the opinion on the manufacturing sector on Pakistan not taking up Industry 4.0 initiative or digital factory?
So I have one question particularly for Tamkeen, first of all, and then I'll like everyone to close and answer this question as well, the question that has been asked by Rafe Shahid from all the panelists. Tamkeen, coming to you, since you belong to the banking industry, and we know in the last couple of decades, the banking industry has actually revolutionized the digital transformation for that matter, but that is for the core banking. How receptive the banking industry is with reference to the digital transformation of the HR sector? That's the question to you.
So thank you, Ateeq. In my opinion, so I've been part of this industry now about 7 months, and in my humble opinion, I see that similar to other industries, even in the banking industry, HR wants to digitalize because that's a good thing to do. That's a cool thing to do because everybody's doing, right? That's pretty much the case across industries, so nothing different really here. Banks, because now they're moving more towards digital accounts, digital banking per se, following the international standards and all. So the concept that, digitalization has its own value exists and much stronger than other industries. So that is an advantage here. The way it is transforming is that there are still debates around the kind of tool that we can use in the banking industry, but that's coming more from the legacy concepts that, we can't be very innovative here. So that is something that is still in the process. We are trying to break those stereotypes out here. If I quote our example specifically in these last 7 months, we were able to sort of, do away with that myth. And our process that we followed out here was, just to